Every game is unique in its own way. Every game is going to attract its own unique person. And it's good to criticize some games. Some games need to be criticized.
They need it.
But at the same time, no one should be damned just because they like a certain game. Just because they like.
All right, Speedy, here we go. Let's try this one more time. Once again, I'm so sorry about that. All right, I'm gonna. Oh, that first intro. All right, here we go. Let's try it one more time. 3, 2, 1. Hey, what is up, everyone? Me llamo Noe Rizo, aka Aethel Wolf, and welcome to the Video Game Podcast, the podcast where we talk about video games and why they mean so much to us as gamers. Today we have a guest. My guest is Speedy Springtrap. What is up, my friend? How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you today? Let me just get situated. The chair is always rocking and moving, so hopefully it's nice and situated. Hope you're all having a wonderful day, and I hope you'll at least enjoy this little podcast. First time me collabing with Noah over here, and hopefully this will be at least somewhat enjoyable for some of you and make your day a tiny bit better.
There we go, yo.
If none of you are subscribed to Air the Wolf, do it now, or I will hit you with a codfish. Ding dong it.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for that amazing intro, Speedy. Once again, I always like to give a little bit of background into you know, how I met my guests and stuff who come on the podcast. And Speedy's a little bit of a special case here. First of all, I went out by saying this is technically my first collab. Speedy is also another YouTuber. His channel focuses more on animation and live stream gaming. So if y'all are ever interested and you want to hear some more of his witty commentary, please go check out his channel. I'm going to have a link to it both in the description, and if you click on the title of the video, you should be able to click on his name and I'll take him to his channel. Is there any other things you want to say about your channel before jumping into the pod here?
Well, besides my gaming, I've been doing gaming mostly, but animation is something I do from time to time, as you guys are seeing on the screen right now.
Yep. So, here we go.
I'm just gonna say right now that even though lately I have not been streaming ritualistically lately, I am gonna say I am trying to get better, but at the same time, there's always gonna be something that's scuffed about my streams. It's just something that happens with me. I just hope I don't scuff any of the Wolf's editing problems here, because if I do, I'm gonna feel horrible, and I'm gonna be blaming myself for days. Like the one collab I do, and I screw it up.
No. Speedy, my friend. It's fine. You're fine. Everything is fine. I'm just grateful to have you here, man, and you don't have to worry about it, because any little problem that might come our way, we're going to work through it, and it's going to be fine, okay? But I appreciate that, man. Let's see. Oh, yeah, did you want to share what you shared last time, too?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you go. All right, Speedy, go ahead. Continue, my friend, continue.
Okay. So, to answer the question I know you were going to ask, video games for me have helped me in a numerous amount of ways. Despite YouTube's involvement on a lot of it, games have helped me a lot, because those who are not aware, I am autistic, and it was not an easy journey for me to get to where I was back then to where I am now, because it was hard for me to understand to stay focused on something. And games as a whole, not just were entertainment for me, but they were a way to escape the difficulties that life was giving me. They were helping me understand characters, get invested in stories and stuff like that, and made me to where I was just not only entertained, but I felt like I was a part of those worlds. You know, fighting alongside, or going on adventures, or just mowing down hundreds and hundreds of baddies. It's an experience that is like, yes, games can be hard, games can be difficult, and games can be violent, but with the proper guidance and restrictions, and some of them, it can be a real good learning experience, and it can make you not only grow as a person, but they can help you not only teach you about some morals, but some things you didn't know about at the time, especially in history, if games are doing it right.
There we go.
So,
oh man, that's so beautiful, Speedy. Thank you so much for once again being so transparent and sharing that with the audience and stuff. I love talking about, this is why I like doing this podcast, you know, because again, video games, to some people it might just be a form of escapism and having fun, but to others it played these really crucial, essential roles in them growing up. And we've already had 2 other guests on this podcast who've talked about how it's played a role in their learning how to read, which is so crazy. And even for you, like you said, how it's kind of helped you go through your tough experiences, and not just did it help you grow in those aspects, but learning how to, it also was another form to kind of go into another world. And man, that's just so relatable. That's just so relatable. But I love that gaming played such an important part of your story, and that it helped you grow as a person, which is huge, and it helped develop you, you know, like, man,
Mhm.
that's just so cool. And thank you so much for sharing that with us, man.
It helped more than anyone could ever know because I went through a lot
So
of stuff
cool.
I know I cannot say here. Like a lot of violent stuff happened to me in schools and stuff like that. I cannot say here. I know that bullying was not kind to me, and neither was it on the effect on my mind. Like I made an
That's
animation not long ago, making a character named Hatred, which was my
mm,
own self hatred, like gone so far, and gaming helped a lot of that. Like it
that's awesome.
helped me get through a lot of that. It helped me not only vent, but it helped me get through a lot of it. So I
That's
just I owe a lot to gaming.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Again, thank you so much for sharing that. And if anyone again is interested in going to see some of these videos and learning, you know, more about what Speedy talked about, like, please go and check that out. I think that's so cool that you were able to use gaming as this outlet that, again, it's not just for you to have fun, but it helps you grow. It helps you go through these tough
Hmm.
moments, which again, that's why I think gaming is such a unique form of not just entertainment but storytelling, because again, you can read a book, you can watch a movie, but there's something different about you having control over a character in the game and having a say in where the story goes. And
Hmm.
I don't know, man, I love that you were able to, that gaming was able to play such an important role in your life to help you grow so much as a person, because that's just awesome, man. And again, thank you so much for coming on this podcast and being so transparent about all this, man. Like, hey, like, we've a lot of people, I don't want to say all people because I don't know, man, but I know at some point everyone has either seen with or dealt with bullying themselves, and it's a really
Oh.
sensitive topic, and it's really real for a lot of people.
Hmm.
And it better be for those who don't, maybe have never experienced it themselves, but understand that it's not something to take lightly. And again, just thank you for sharing that, man. And I'm glad that you're in a place now where you're able to look back on and say, like, yeah, it was really hard, but you've grown through it, you've grown past it, and I'm glad that video games were an outlet to help you get through that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say this: Kratos didn't go
Yeah.
near as far as hell than I did in my own head. You thought Kratos went through some crap. Me, on the other hand, I went through more than my mind would ever let me. So I do agree with you. Bullying, even though it's a sensitive topic, it should be something that's not taken lightly. I'm talking to you, school teachers, but it is
Yeah,
important to at least tell a family friend that you trust or an adult you think would be able to help. Even if you feel like no one's going to be able to listen, there is someone. It's
that's
just
huge.
sometimes it takes a bit for you to find someone. Just don't feel like you're alone, and
Exactly.
whatever. If you're one of the people on the opposite side who are doing the bullying,
Mm.
whatever's causing it for you, and guarantee you, you're going to cause something much worse than you experience if you think you're feeling bad. Wait till you end up having a certain one of your victims come back and they're not going to be playing no more. So
Yeah.
bullying is an issue that is just like it's like a toxic addiction that spreads. It's not fun.
Yeah, no, and it's
And I'm
it's it's
glad
kind of
gaming was
like,
able to help me with it.
yeah, man, no, for sure. It's a cycle. You know, the problem is
Hmm.
one bully bullies one person, which bullies another, which bullies another, and I think well, Speedy, I feel like I already know the answer to this, but yeah,
Yeah.
I have the feeling that you were the kind of person who got bullied yet never bullied back. You know,
I was the
and
person who was holding himself back from becoming the next Ted Bundy. The bullies that mess with me, they did not let up, and there were times, there were times I really almost let into them. If it was not for
which
my parents
is
and gaming, I probably would have.
which is complete. Hey, again, man, that's why we've talked about how this isn't a joke, man, because there are
No.
people who have taken it that far.
Mm-hmm.
And again, man, I'm just grateful that you were able to, you know, go through life in your own way. I know you're a good person. I know you're a good guy, and man, you, like you said, you've been put through the ringer. And I'm so grateful that through gaming and through your parents and honestly through your own heart, you
Mm-hmm.
were able to do the right thing and grow to be this, honestly, this amazing human who's so positive, uplifting. And again, I want people to go check out your channel. You're a comedy gold mine, my friend. You are.
I
So.
try to be. I try to be. 'Cause I love games, and I love being able to be either chaotic or just purely good. I can't even play like Fable without going without going the good route. I cannot handle being like that jerk. I can't handle it. Like my dad says, you play one side, you're in your heart, you're another. And then I say, no, that's not me. I play the good route all the time.
That's
I
so
can't help it.
beautiful. That's so beautiful, man. No, and again, I feel like that just speaks so much to your character. It's funny that you mentioned that. I've never done a full evil playthrough of Fable. Like now that you mentioned that, maybe I think I did in Fable 3 just for like an achievement, and I've done little things, but like if I'm going through Fable and I have the choice as to like what route I want to take, bro, like that's just so relatable, man. And I love that. I love that you were able to choose the good route. Again, if there's gonna be an outlet for someone to try and choose an evil route, video games is the best option. Never do it in real life.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what some parents and teachers think video games are. They're just a way to get kids to experience violence and do it in real life. No, just because Mario steps on a turtle doesn't mean you should. Like
exactly,
like,
man.
I can understand games like Call of Duty, Borderlands, other games that are like extremely violent and explosive, like GTA for example. It is made for adults and teenagers, not for kids.
Yeah, dude, thank you for saying that so precisely and so eloquently, because that's so true, man. And I feel like so it's such a big part of the problem too, is that like it's they need to see it as they're seeing a movie, right? Like you wouldn't let your kid go see an R-rated movie that has gore and sex or whatever, and like it's the same thing with video games. Like you can't just let your kid get any game that they want and then be upset with the people who made the game or the people. Like it all kind of comes down to the parents. Like you have to be aware of what they're playing and be conscious of that. The good thing is I think we're definitely moving towards a day and age where I'd like to think that the parents are more aware of how gaming is more like movies, and there's all sorts of games. There's games for kids, there's games for teens, and there's games for adults. So
Amen
another great
to that.
Yeah, man. So, hey, thanks for bringing that up, man. I think this has been a great intro so far, man. Thank you for just being so real. Like I really appreciate that, and I'm glad that again gaming has played such an important role. I'm gonna try to keep us on time here because I feel like this could be one of those pods with you where like I could just go on for hours talking about any topic, which is good.
It probably will. It probably will.
You know what? It probably will, man. It probably will. Speedy, never stop being you, man. Just never stop being you. That's how I want to end this section with. You're an awesome person, so keep being yourself, man. Keep being yourself. Never stop being you.
I don't plan to change.
Awesome. All right, so Speedy, what is one of the first video games that you ever remember playing? And let me know if I am meant to click on a link here.
Okay, so I don't remember a lot of my first video games. I think they were all bought at the same time because.
Okay.
A little bit information here. My parents got the PS1 in a garage sale.
Oh.
And with me born in 1999, I was on the ending bit of that age. And so they were trying to find a gaming system that was cheap. The PS1 was the game that they found. Now, I have a special controller with the joysticks for the PS1. So I was able to play like Spyro, Crash, all that stuff with the joysticks instead of just using the direct buttons.
Yeah.
But the first game I think was Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase.
Oh, what?
And I think that was the first one, mainly because I was a big Scooby-Doo fan, cartoon. I love Hanna-Barbera's classics, and no one can tell me, besides the new Velma show, Scooby-Doo ain't a bad thing to go on. But the thing with me is, I never finished the game. I never finished.
Oh, really?
It's either the stinking mummy level or the ice level that keeps me locked there. I can never get past it, and anyone who's played it understands my pain.
That is so funny. I got a little bit of a gameplay going in the background here.
That Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, even though it was like the hardest game for me besides Pac-Man 20th Anniversary, which I still haven't finished the original, but I finished Repack, so I find that funny. But Scooby and the Cyber Chase, I have the movie on VHS, but playing the game was something a little different for me. And even though like this may have been my first game, I can't really be sure. But I know I know the next question, which is gonna be like, which game was the most influential?
Yeah. Like, please share with
Yeah.
me what's one of the
So
most influential games from your
mo-
childhood.
most people would assume that it would be Five Nights at Freddy's for me, since Speedy
Mm,
Springtrap, but they're wrong.
exactly. Okay.
The game I would have to say that was the most influential on me, because I have two games that are the most influential, but the first one that I think was the biggest was Minecraft.
Ooh, really?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Minecraft
Please,
for
please
me
elaborate.
got me through a lot of stuff, like creativity wise, not just from the like. For example, I found Minecraft out from a friend of mine, and then he directed me to the channel. I thought it was a World of Warcraft game because my dad loved to play World of Warcraft at the time and Star Wars: The Old Republic, so that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
And Minecraft, I found on YouTube afterwards. I found YouTube channels like the Yosscast, Tobuxkus, Sky Does Minecraft, Dan TDM,
Tobuscus,
etc., etc.
classics.
Not to mention T-Bone 105, but it helped me get creative. It get me immersed. It made me learn to laugh a little bit more.
Huge.
Because I was, like I said about Scooby-Doo, I was a slapstick cartoon junkie.
Yeah,
That's all I
yeah,
laughed at. So to
yeah.
have something that made me laugh and feel creative felt good.
That's
And then it
amazing.
was via Minecraft that got me into Five Nights at Freddy's thanks to a Dan TDM mod video.
Oh wow,
And
look at that.
when I finally was able to play Minecraft on the 360 when it came out, it wasn't the exact same, but it felt good to play the game that influenced me so much. The second game that
That's so
influenced
cool.
me
Oh
is
wait.
Spider-Man PS1.
Okay, wait, really quick, before you move on to that one, because actually I love Spider-Man PS1. I actually played that one too, I think. But wait, before we move on, just the last little comment on Minecraft. I love that you were talking about like the creativity and how it even helped you like with like comedy and stuff. Like that's something that I think not many people might realize, especially with kids, that video games are huge outsource for creativity and development in these kind of ways. I think
Mm-hmm.
in particular Minecraft, it's one of those games where you make your own story, you create your own world, their own game. And again, I got into pretty big into Minecraft for a little bit. I think I was already in high school at the time, and it was great. You know, I think Minecraft is a great game for kids of all ages, man. Like you can be a child and create whatever you want. You can be an adult and create whatever you want, and it's awesome. It's beautiful, and I also love how Minecraft it has such a wider range of different subtopics and area. Like there's so many ways to play Minecraft that through a mod, you said it led you to Five Nights at Freddy's, right?
Yeah, and not just that.
Crazy.
Like, it led me to a lot of different versions of Minecraft, and
Yeah.
it got me into Minecraft and Five Nights at Freddy's, get me curious, like, what's this? And then I got into
Mm-hmm.
Markiplier, Five Nights at Freddy's, got used
There
to
we go.
Five Nights at Freddy's as a whole, with going into, like, seeing not just the surface value of a game, like, going into the
Yeah.
deeper story. And then through the comics
Yes.
of Five Nights at Freddy's, I found Undertale, which taught me to be more conscious of my
Crazy.
actions and more caring for the characters in the games, because it makes you more conscious of your choices and feel like you should take your time and just enjoy the game instead of just rushing through thinking, oh, more fighting, more fighting. It makes you think outside
Yeah.
the box.
That yo,
And that's
that's
it's
I
led
was,
Minecraft led me
go
to a
ahead.
lot of things.
That's so cool. No, it's so cool. It's like a whole ecosystem, and I truly do think that some of the most hardcore gamers are also they tend to be some of the ones who are the most involved in the whole YouTube scene and all that because that's how we learn a lot, you know. And I think, oh my gosh, I can't tell you the amount of times that because I've played one game and I've seen a video on it, it's led me to play a lot of other games from either the same genre or similar genres that I didn't know about, and it's because I watched certain YouTubers or or just related content to that kind of game. And it's just I love how it all connects and it's just really cool, man. It's just really cool.
It's
So I
not
like
just
that you
YouTube
hit on that.
either, because, for
Yeah.
example, when I was young, like
Hmm.
below the age of 10, my
Hmm.
dad would play Assassin's Creed.
Oh,
And
okay.
being, the nosy little child I was, I would watch him, and he would have to turn the blood off to make sure that his little
Oh,
sons didn't accidentally see him, like, take down,
yeah.
let's say, a guard on a rooftop. And then
Yeah.
and did that stop me? No. Did that stop me from sneaking in the middle of the night in my haunted house, dragging my brother down the hallway to play Assassin's Creed 2 with Ezio and learn some Italian? No. Did that stop me from getting in trouble? No.
That's so crazy.
Like,
That's
yeah,
so.
Like I was so bad. I was willing to go down the hallway of my haunted house
Oh my god.
just to play a game in the middle of the night that my dad said no.
Jesus. Just because this could be a whole nother topic that has
Yeah.
nothing to do with video games, but could you?
It does have a little bit, but it's just
Well,
that's just
I
how much I was addicted to games.
I wanted to ask if you could elaborate because you can't just say this without not people not having questions. What do you mean when you say your haunted house?
It was haunted with ghosts.
Okay, give me one ghost story, and then we'll keep on talking about gaming. But elaborate for those who are interested in the supernatural.
I have like a lot of different stories.
Give me
Not
the best
all of them
one.
are like extreme,
Okay.
but my mom had her own experience in the kitchen with a hand on her shoulder, then disappears. But for me, it was me waking up in the living room without my glasses
Okay.
in the middle of the night, hearing some. I did this video on my channel already. It was the
there we
most
go.
scared I've ever been as a child. But to continue on it, I heard noises in the kitchen. Noises
Yeah.
stopped. I start walking over to the stairs to run down the hallway where it felt like something was glaring at you angrily every time.
Oh my gosh.
Especially in the dark. But as I'm about to go, I hear slight, like, you know the type of thing you hear screaming in the back of your head? I heard that, but it was like loud.
Oh.
I run down the hallway. I feel like someone's
Yeah.
chasing me. I get to the
Yeah.
bedroom. I close the door. I go.
Yeah.
I cover up and I fall asleep. Doors open next morning.
What?
The door wasn't always good, but the
Whoa.
door was bad. But at the same time, it was still scary, and that's just like one of the main experiences. Like before I even left the house, I slept in every room of the house, and I had a dream of a woman in a red Victorian dress waving goodbye.
Ugh. That's
I
so
don't know
creepy, dude.
I don't know
That's so creepy.
what ghost was there. It was like a near Indian trail, as far as I remember.
Okay, yeah, that's something to always kind of be careful about. I've heard some interesting ghost stories when it comes to like, specifically, yeah, like either Indian trails or like certain tribes that used to be in certain locations. So like
Just
they're
be
called like
respectful and you'll be
sacred
fine.
grounds. You know, sacred grounds. I think that's
Yeah.
that's what we're getting at here. But anyways, man.
Has to be
For the
respected with that type of stuff. So
always, exactly. But anyways, yeah, thank you for sharing that. I know, I'm always a little bit interested in the supernatural, and I could talk about that for longer. But this is about video games. I just kind of wanted
yep,
to.
it is.
You just kind of mentioned like, oh yeah, my haunted house, and I'm like, bro, like I
We
can't
can talk
just
about that
move on
next
from it.
podcast. We can talk about that next podcast.
There we go, my man. All right, anyways, amazing. So, that's really cool. Even just the fact, I know you kind of mentioned this like when talking about Assassin's Creed, that like there was an option to turn off like the blood and the gore and stuff.
Yeah.
And look at that. Like I think if anything, that's kind of cool that like you have those options in gaming because of that. Maybe your dad felt a little bit better about you watching him play this game because at least he turned
still
off
didn't
that
want me
setting in it.
He didn't want me watching it either way.
Yeah. Either way, but at least what I'm trying to get at here, it's cool that like the game developers are have these things in mind. Because at least for a father, it was cool for him to be able to turn that on. And again, he still didn't want you watching or viewing it, but it was a little bit better. So,
yeah,
it's cool that option was there.
Assassin's Creed owed me a lot too because I learned a good about history before the history topics showed up in school.
Oh,
So,
there we go.
Let's say Leonardo da Vinci in Assassin's Creed 2. I learned about him a lot earlier on before I learned it in school. I also learned a few Italian words. Some of them are swears, but at the same time, it's funny. But at the same time, I learned a lot from like certain dates and times. It gave me like a tidbit of like, hey, here's a little hint of history. And I love it when games do it right. Later, the most recent ones for Assassin's Creed haven't been doing it as well.
Ooh.
But the classic ones, they're
doing it right.
They had it at a science to get you not only interested in what the history was, but for you to look up the real history of what it was. It makes you think what actually happened during that time. And I love games like that.
That's really cool. Yeah, I don't know. Did you watch the last podcast, Speedy, by any chance? Did you have time?
I watched it. I kind of had to stop halfway because I was busy with something.
No, that's no big deal at all. Just because it's so fascinating that you're talking about Assassin's Creed and like the importance of like history and how it kind of taught you that. Because my last friend who was on here, he literally talked about exactly what you're talking about. Assassin's Creed was one of the games that he talked about, and he said like how cool it was for him to learn a lot of different aspects of history and culture from these different games and how they're so accurate. So that's so cool, man. That here you are talking about the same thing, not even knowing that in the last episode like someone said exactly the same thing. So that's so cool. That's so cool.
Assassin's Creed World War II. Ubisoft, get on it.
Yeah, there we go. It's all just a
I
matter
want
of
to hunt
time,
Hitler
man.
down, dang it. Let me assassinate Hitler, please.
No comment. No comment. No comment. Anyways, moving on.
To go back what I was saying about the second game that was most influential, since before we get off that topic, Spider-Man PS1 was one that got me into stories and comic books and characters in the first place. I watched the Spider-Man animated series in the 1999, you know, the one with the Venom showing up and all that stuff the first time as an actual villain. That game got me into that. And because of that, I kind of learned how to love these characters even though they are enemies. Like, for example,
interesting.
When you see
Venom, please elaborate on that.
Time, it's like something you can't like get away from. Like, it's just so mesmerizing seeing that the PS1 graphics and being able to play as this hero Spider-Man in like this world crisis type thing going through. And it's because of Spider-Man PS1 that got me into changing my voice a little bit. For example, Venom. We all know, for those who play the game, you all know Venom's iconic line in the big screen. The Venom Marathon continues on the biggest TV in New York. We're shouting out to the whole big rotten apple here, people.
Whoa. Yo, that's always so impressive, man.
Carnage from that, not Carnage. Scorpion from that specific version. And Carnage. Bring it on, Grandpa.
You could legit get paid for that, man. Like, holy smokes, that's so impressive.
And the best thing is I can cut it off. So, like when Venom and Carnage first fought, like, I smell a bad symbiote, and it ain't me. Bring it on, Grandpa! Like, I've done it. I've gotten so good at it. On that specific version. I can still do the other ones, like eyes, lungs, pancreas. So many snacks, so little time. Even the line from the 1999 series. You will see us everywhere.
That's
even
good.
in your nightmares.
Speedy, you should really consider going and applying for like voice acting, bro. Like, actually,
I want to, but I need a resume first before I do so. Because if I just go like, I'm a self-made voice actor, that's not gonna work. But
fair.
That video game, Spider-Man PS1, got me into voice acting and got me playing more Spider-Man games like Spider-Man Web of Shadows.
Yeah.
And that game is fun.
That's another fantastic
that,
game.
I didn't grow up with the Ultimate Spider-Man game. I grew up with Web of Shadows web slinging in Spider-Man 3. Web of Shadows introduced me into the proper black suit mechanic, which made it so fun to rip and tear the symbiotes down.
Yes.
Like playing with Spider-Man, Luke Cage, even. It was fun. It was fun just to go see the gameplay styles where Spider-Man's quick and agile. The black suit is still quick, but it's heavy hitting. You can get people concussions just from a punch with the black suit. Yeah. And it's amazing how some of those people survive some of the attacks. But it's just
I love this
one that did that.
It's a whole thing. It's a whole process. I think I've reviewed a couple of Spider-Man games on my channel. And honestly, like, this one stands out to me amongst all of them. I played the very first Spider-Man 2, the PS1 Spider-Man. I think when I played it, though, I played it on the Nintendo 64. So, but anyways.
How dare you? Play on PS1.
Yeah, no, I know, man.
The Nintendo 64 did not do justice for some of the graphics. Yeah, it made it more updated, but it didn't have the same charm as the PS1, in my opinion. And
it's the only thing I had at the time.
Anyone who's watching, sorry for the little self-promo, but the voice acting vid I did all the voices myself with a bad voice changer, a crappy mic, and a horrible internet connection with a very glitchy editing software. And I was able to pull off a lot of good voices, even from Monster Rock. I gave Monster Rock more justice in that game than they did in the actual one, because they only gave him like a few screens and like 2 lines.
Wow, there you go. Yeah,
Monster Rock was not fun, but at the same time, it made me inspired.
Speedy has video, just to be more like a little bit more detail here. Speedy has videos on his channel where he voice acted certain scenes from the game, and in my opinion, I almost think he had a little bit more personality with his own fan-made voice acting than some of the real voice actors, which is kind of crazy. But that's kind of what he's talking about. And yeah, so if you want to go check out that video too, go check out his channel. He's got it on there. But anyways, just kind of bringing it back to gaming a little bit. I played on Nintendo 64 because it was the only thing that I had when I was younger. Like, that was my very, very first console. But I loved it. I think that's part of the reason why I love Spider-Man so much. That game might have played a bigger role than I might be aware of. But this one, Web of Shadows, I was looking for gems. Y'all know me as a gamer. I always, if I see a series that I might like, I always try to start with the oldest game in the bunch. Now, it's kind of hard to do that with Spider-Man because there's been so many different Spider-Man games, so many different developers, and it's kind of like you have no idea really where to start. I've played a fair amount of Spider-Man games in my time, and I said, hey, what's just one gem of a game that I've never played? And this one kept popping up everywhere on every list. How, oh, this is the best Spider-Man game and all this stuff. And let me just say, I've played it, and my goodness, it's you can go watch my review on it, but I just quick little summary, dude. Like, kind of like what Speedy was saying. The gameplay's amazing because you can jump back and forth between this more powerful dark Spider-Man where each punch just really, you feel the smack. And then you change over to the red Spidey suit and with the press of a button whenever you want with no limits. And now you're a little bit more agile. You're doing more combos. And it's so crazy. The swinging is great. The side missions are great. Like, I'll tell you, there's no pizza level like in Spider-Man 2 where you got the... Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. You might not have that. But my goodness, is this a gem of a Spider-Man game. And if you're a Marvel fan or if you're a fan of Spider-Man, you need to play this game.
Yeah, and the best thing about it, like, of course, there's like Spider-Man 3
great.
with the symbiote suit too, and that's like a button mash simulator, which has worked out good on my thumbs. But at the same time, what Spider-Man 3 has in story and kind of like its unique version of Black Suit, Web of Shadows has its version, as well as the character choices, which puts you into perspective. And it's also why I like games like that too. Why it's such a standout to me, because you can literally choose Spider-Man's path. It's not just a straightforward. It's why I like games like Epic Mickey, Telltale, which I have still wanted you to get into Epic Mickey, so that way you can see that, because I want you to be able to experience that type of voice, that type of changes, because I want to see your impersonations of Mickey. Thank you very much with that, because it's gonna be fun. If you play that one day, it's gonna be fun.
That's hilarious. We'll see about that, man. Hey, I appreciate that though. I know, yeah. He's been trying to get me to play that game for a while. I gotta get to it, man. I have a huge backlog, but I appreciate it, Speedy, and I'm definitely gonna get to it at some point.
No problem. But it's also like, Marvel games as a whole. Like, I'm not gonna say I'm a full Marvel gamer. Like, I played like Sonic 06, for example. That was my first Sonic.
Oh, we lost you for a little bit, Speedy. Uh-oh. Ruh-roh. Hello? Uh-oh, we lost Speedy. One moment. Okie dokers. Hello?
Internet died on me.
Oh, it's all good, man. It's all good, man. Hey, you made it back.
That guy talking about Sonic 06.
That's so funny, bro. That's so funny.
Keep it in. This is gonna be hilarious.
All right, I'll leave it in.
Right.
I won't edit it out. Perfect. Anyways, please continue with what you were saying.
So Sonic 06, most people are gonna be cringing like, that's one of the worst Sonic games. How dare you play that first? It was the first Sonic game. It got me into understanding hard games. It's why I like games like Spider-Man, Knack, and a bunch of other variations, because there's a challenge between it.
Yeah.
And it's why I like games like that. It gives you a sense of, like, you can't just be like, oh, I'm just a baby gamer, and now I'm going to be playing, like, say, Dark Souls.
Yeah. No, honestly.
You have to get yourself understanding some games have different difficulties, and you can't just get mad at it. Because sometimes it is you.
Yeah, there we go.
The best thing I like about games like this, Avengers, for example. It is a cluster glitch game. Like, you can have hundreds of issues, but you can still enjoy it. Like, when I started playing with No, we were having so much fun playing together and having our own little adventures. Now, granted, when he fought against Maestro, I tried to tell him that he was not ready. Did he listen? No. Roll the clip.
Why does he have to keep bringing this up? It's fine. It's fine. He said he was going to keep bringing it up. It's okay. It's the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth. He tried warning me, and
yeah.
go ahead.
And
go
also
ahead.
the time when you went on ahead with Monica's mission, and I didn't realize you went so far, and you got down to like a second, and then I came running to your rescue.
Yeah.
But
that was crazy. No, we haven't. Go ahead.
It was its own fun. Like, yes, it had its issues. Yes, it was not perfect, but at the same time, there were moments you could legit have fun with.
I agree. No, so much. I think, and we've kind of talked about this in the podcast too, but I want to reiterate some of the things that you just talked about, which is the game doesn't have to be perfect to have fun with it, and it's all a matter of perspective and how you take the approach. Like, if you already know the game's going to be a little bit laggy and stuff, like, I don't know, like, for me, yes, there were a lot of glitches with this game. It's not something that I'm going to ignore, take away. Actually, ironically, on my channel, my review on this game is one of the reviews that's gotten the most amount of success and the most amount of views and the most amount of people who agreed with me, right? Where it's all just a matter of perspective, because this is a beautiful, muggy glitch of a game that is misunderstood, because, like, it can look pretty, it can feel really fun to play, and it can be really repetitive, and it can be really, I don't know, like, grindy, right? So it has its flaws, it has its
ridden.
The microtransaction, like, there's so many things that can bring this game down, and there's so many things that brought this game up that allowed me to have so much fun with it. I went out of my way to 100% and get the platinum for this game, which I don't do often nowadays, but this game was worth it for me. And again, y'all can check out my more in-depth review where I talk about that. But I think that's great. Thank you so much for bringing that up, Speedy. And but before we move on to the next topic, I was just gonna ask, out of all the games that you just mentioned, which one would you say then was it Minecraft, or which one's the one that you would say is the most influential from your childhood?
I would have to say Minecraft, because it opened like a lot of other doors for me, not just like gaming wise.
Okay.
Like YouTube, Minecraft as a whole, it helped me get more creative in a lot of sense. I owe a lot to Spider-Man PS1. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But at the same time, Minecraft helped me mentally with a lot more stuff. So it got me into much more stuff, and it made me a better person in a lot of ways, and I owe a lot to it.
That's beautiful, man. No, that's so great. Thank you for sharing that. Something that I always like to ask people when it comes to these kind of like games, influential games, like you usually play it once when you're a kid, and it brings so much joy to you. It makes you so happy, and you sometimes you can give it a rating in your head where it's like, okay, when I was a kid, this game was like a perfect 10 out of 10 for me. And then sometimes you grow up, you replay the game, and you're like, maybe it's not a perfect 10 out of 10 for me now as an adult, but this is still what I enjoy from it. Or I've had instances where I play a game as a child, and I'm like, this game's okay. And then I replay it as an adult, and it's even better. So this is something that we're going to be doing with more games that are coming up here. But for Minecraft, what's the rating that you would have given this game when you were a kid? And then what's the rating that you would give this game now as an adult? So out of 10.
So back then, I would have rated it a 10 because of creativity. Nowadays, I would rate it a 9 just because of how Mojang and a bunch of other people in Minecraft are not treating it as well. And I am going to bring up a slight topic. Mojang going after the adult themes of Minecraft, like guns and other stuff. I don't agree with that because it's negating some of the creativity. I do believe that it should be monitored a little bit more, and maybe there should be a feature that makes it to where like there's an 18+ option to where if there's a server or something that has like something that's like gun oriented or something more inappropriate, you cannot join that server. Or something like that. Like trying to ban it all together is like saying, hey, we're only kid friendly. We're not all ages. And that's, like, for Minecraft, it's asinine to me because it has gunpowder, TNT, bows, swords.
That's fair. That's fair.
Not kid friendly, those be. If you want to make it full kid friendly, you need to make it sand digging simulator.
Yeah. No, and I hear you, and it's so difficult because on the one end you have this game that is so creative and that allows so much freedom and that so many cool things can be created for it. And because of that, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to see it, it does give room for these more dark, 18 plus kind of topics and things that could bring a lot of fun and a lot of creativity. So I agree that like that aspect of it shouldn't be banned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, we do have to also respect the developers and the vision that they have and where they want to take the game, because it is their game, right? And it is what they believe that, they're trying to do the best that they can. And ultimately, I'd like, you could say it's for a good cause. I guess they're trying to be careful with certain kids seeing certain things. I know for me, that's something that's kind of really rung true to me. I have a little cousin. He's literally like, oh my gosh, how old is he? He's like 5 or 6, man. And right now he's really big into Roblox. And Roblox might be it's bro, it looks like a kid's game. It looks like
I hate Roblox for a lot of reasons. I do not like Roblox myself. But I do agree, but at the same time, it goes both ways. Minecraft needs to respect its community more, because Mojang has not been real respective of its community. They have not been listening to them very well. And
which is yeah. I mean, and that's what I'm saying too. Like it's a tricky subject, because it's like it is their game and they have the right to kind of be like, well, no, this is what it's meant to be. But at the same time, the community is the community, and that's just kind of like what it's built to. And it's because it's such a good creative game. But to just kind of finish what I was saying about Roblox is, Roblox is meant to be a kid-friendly game, but there's so much stuff on there that my aunt and my uncle might not be aware of, which my little cousin, who's 6-year-old, is now being exposed to. And they think, oh, well, it's a kid's game, so it's fine. So I do kind of understand it on that end, where like I would not want my 6-year-old cousin, being exposed to certain things that he might not be ready for, might not understand. And I mean, I don't know, right? That gets into a whole different deal, but
I completely understand on that. I completely understand. I just feel like that it should be done a different way instead of outright banning an entire community side that is a bit more adult, because those are their senior players, basically.
Yes.
And to basically saying, oh, you can't play now because you're this old. Like, heck, even Toontown Rewritten allows its older players to return, because they understand they have an older demographic at the same time as the younger demographic.
Yeah.
And they don't get rid of that. They embrace it.
You know what? And I think that's a little bit of me just like not fully knowing the story, right? Because I completely agree with that. Like outright banning a community, just for using that creativity and doing, I don't think that's the right way to go about it. So it's so interesting, and I could really talk about this for a long time, man, because I'm with you on that. I don't think that's how they should have gone about it. I'm able to see both sides here, but it's so hard, man. I don't think you should ever, I don't know, man, be able to. That's not how they probably should be going about it, but I don't know. I'm just a gamer, right? I'm just a regular person like you, and we all have our own thoughts and stuff, and I definitely see both sides. I definitely see both sides, so.
Yeah, I do too. It's just, I know that with me, I'm a bit more, protective of the whole community as a whole, and it had a lot.
You should be.
It had a lot of like impact on me. I just want to make sure it's done right, because I don't want Minecraft to go down the way of, oh, they're being so overbearing, everyone leaves, because Minecraft deserves to have a long future with how good it's impacted me and many others.
Exactly. No, I completely agree. And I think obviously a little bit here is just lack of knowledge, right? I'm not as informed as you and on really the whole story, so I'm just kind of talking about the first couple things that come to mind. But obviously the more videos that I might watch on it, the more that I get to talk about it with you, I start to see the other side a lot more, and I'm like, oh, wait a second. Nah, I'm more of a Speedy on this now, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I appreciate.
I'm the people person. I am like the collective hive mind of all the people who have like the right intentions in mind, not like ulterior motives. I don't want to make myself sound like an almighty god, but at the same time, I am usually on the winning side when it comes to stuff, because I have common sense.
I appreciate your confidence, man, and I appreciate you sharing that. And again, yeah, man, I said it at the beginning. I know you have a good heart, bro. Like that's not even a question here. You have the best heart. You want what's best for people, and you do have common sense. So again, it's awesome. And again, for me, it's just a little bit of, I don't know the full context of the story, and I was just kind of going based off of what I was hearing and throwing some opinions here back and forth. But yeah, man, thank you so much for sharing that, Speedy. And I think those are some solid ratings, man. I think that's good. Thank you so much for sharing that. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about Minecraft before we move on to the next game?
I mean, besides, the YouTubers like Yogscast, Tobuscus, Sky, like, those people help me a lot. Like,
yeah,
they may not know it, but they helped influence me. Like, even the Yogscast with their Shadow of Israel series back in the day. Like, It was one of the few voices I could do with Nebescu.
Don't you want to add some gold to the pot, young little dwarf?
Stuff like that, you know? And that was technically the first voice I've ever did. It's just with Spider-Man PS1 made it evident, like, I have a range. But like Minecraft as a whole, like the unique stories that have come out of that, besides Herobrine and all the other stuff, the stories with YouTubers and even their popularity when they just do a certain type of mod, like T-Bone 105 with Minecraft Comes Alive and the Spider Queen mod. There's so many different types of creativities that came out of that, and it's, I guess you could say, it's what made me want to kind of make my own story with my channel and all that stuff, and maybe even make a proper series myself one day.
That's so
if I ever get the chance, because I owe a lot to YouTube. I owe a lot to Minecraft as a whole, because it activated a neuron in my brain, something or like that.
No, that's amazing, man. That's amazing, and again, it's just I love hearing the passion that you have behind it, and that's why that's what I'm saying. Gaming is so important, and it's not just a way to, you know, escape from life and have fun. There's so many different roles it can play in our lives, and again, just thank you for coming on this podcast and sharing that part of your story with me, man, because it's so real. It's so real, and I think other people can relate to it. So, thank you.
I wouldn't mind coming back on again if it was just a rant or a different talk, because I love these type of things, just talking about stuff. I love it.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, man. Like I'm gonna tell you the same thing that I tell them, I guess. Like, hey, like this isn't the last time. You're definitely more than willing to. If you want, you can come back and we'll have more conversations like this, man. Because I've been enjoying it. You know.
I'm always open.
That's awesome, man. No, well, thank you so much, Speedy. All right, let's move it on to the next game here. I'm just trying to keep track of time, and we're doing okay. I mean, we've had great talks, and I don't want to rush it, but let's if you could tell me at least one more game that was before we move on to the last game, but one more game that was just extremely, like, that you just think is so good, it's worth talking about this podcast and sharing with the YouTube world, and really just kind of giving it the time of day and saying, like, hey, this is a game that's amazing, and here's how it's influenced me.
Okay. There's like a lot of games in my like, I have a lot of 360 games, don't get me wrong, and I have like a lot of PS4 games, but I think this may go on a full rant. I don't know.
That's okay. That's okay. Go for it. The more passion you have behind it, the better.
I would like to say there's games like Knack, where it's like unique.
Ooh,
Knack is its own like hard as nails games. There's games like Pac-Man World, the original one, which is in my mind unbeatable in some bits. There's also games like there's so many games, but I think one of the other games I would have to say that has a big community. Yeah. A big enough community. And this kind of goes hand in hand with another community. Is the Spyro the Dragon community. Ooh. Specifically, the original community from the first games. And the one community I'm part of is the one from Canadian guy A, who is not only a big Spyro fanatic, but also a big Crash the Bandicoot fanatic.
Crash Bandicoot, yes.
And Crash and Spyro was also part of my PS1 playlist back in the day. And because of that, I learned a lot from Spyro on being sassy with the enemies and just being entwined with the magical world of dragons and all this stuff. My mom and I spent a lot of time playing Spyro 3 and the Pizza Hut demo discs, which had Spyro 2.
That's so
And for those who don't know what the Pizza Hut demo discs are, Pizza Hut and Sony had a little deal way back when, where you would buy either a certain amount of pizzas or you would get a coupon for pizzas and a game. You would either have a chance to win. Yeah, and I have like a lot of them. I have Crash Bandicoot 3 demo discs. I have Tomb Raider demo discs. I have a few demo discs. And like, if it wasn't for Spyro, I wouldn't have had such a good connection with my mom. Aww. And she loves dragons. She absolutely adores Spyro. Tom Kenny, top 10 voice actor for this because he fits Spyro perfectly, in my opinion.
That's awesome.
But
that's
I personally love the idea of playing as a purple dragon, saving eggs, fighting baddies, and giving moneybags a good 1-2 to the hindquarters after he keeps scamming you out of so many gems. That was a good stress reliever right there, chasing him and giving him what for after making me pay over 100 gems. Just continuing on the game.
Just to keep playing the game.
Like, I enjoy it, and everyone in that community can agree also. Everyone loves Spyro and Crash for their own reasons. I
Yeah.
love Crash for his, like, crazy little animations whenever he dies, and him being so fragile but can do so much damage in one bit. And then there's
Yeah.
Spyro, who can take on, like, a horde of enemies, from the Rhinox to the Norks, and then
Yeah.
still be like, you ready for more? And it's just, I love games
It
like
just
that. Like,
keeps
not just
going,
story
man.
games, but games where you can feel, like I said earlier, immersed and just amazed. The music in Spyro, Stuart Copeland
Ooh.
deserves more awards than he deserved, than what he
Uh-huh.
got. Because, good lord, the music in both the original and the
Yeah.
remastered, oh
They're
my lord. And we owe a
amazing.
lot to Crash to getting remastered properly and Spyro coming back in the way, because Spyro was gone for too long.
Yeah.
And I have to thank Skylanders at the same time, because if it was not for
Mm.
Skylanders, Spyro wouldn't have gotten the limelight just enough for people to keep calling for a remaster.
Yeah. No,
Skylanders has
100%.
have its problems. It is Toys to Life, and
Toys to Life,
it
yeah.
can't, like, I still have like a lot of my original Skylanders here.
Oh, that's
Like,
so
I
cool.
played from Skylanders Spyro to the Imaginators, and I played almost every single one besides the Trap Team, because my parents said no on that one. But I have to thank Skylanders a lot, because if it wasn't for Skylanders, Crash probably wouldn't have been remastered as well, and Spyro probably wouldn't have gotten the limelight at all for him to have a remaster. Which, good lord, everyone was so happy to see Spyro. Like, Crash, his
so
remaster was good, but Spyro, it was like eye candy.
okay, because yeah, that's so a couple things I wanted to comment on here, but I think the first thing that I wanted to say was just like I love that you just this is one of my favorite things about video games and how, like I said, they play a role in different aspects of our lives and even relationships in our lives. And I know you commented on like this is one of the things that kind of like helped your relationship with your mom, or like that made it a little bit more special, right? Like I love that. I love that so much. And that's one of the things I got talked about in the first podcast, where like how video games can affect relationships and start friendships. I mean, shoot, Speedy, look at you and me. Like if it wasn't for
Yeah.
if it wasn't for streaming and us having this bond that kind of brought us together with gaming, like we wouldn't be having this podcast and we wouldn't be good friends. And it's great because I mean it's I don't feel uncomfortable saying this, but like even just the fact that at the beginning of the podcast, like before we had the podcast, I don't mind sharing this, but I'm going through a little bit of a breakup right now.
Mm-hmm.
And my boy Speedy here just was like very kind. Was like, hey man, like you're taking like a champ, and I'm just like, like I'm here for you and like all this stuff, and like you're doing a great job with it. And, like it just again like this is more of a friendship now than just an acquaintance. And it all got started through video games. And just when you mentioned that thing with your mom, I was like, you know what, like it's just a great reminder like how gaming plays such a huge role in friendships and relationships. So I just thought that was super cool.
I'm a kind person, and even though I've never had a relationship myself, I know more than most people, that apparently, because I not only have been giving good romantic advice to both of my friends, and I understand the heartache. I'm a very empathetic person, and that's one of the reasons I like games where you can be a good person, because you get to basically act out how you feel. In some games anyway. Then there's like games like Telltale where you have to make very hard choices, and even though like you don't want to do it, you have to. And I love games like that. They push you out of your comfort zone, but at the same time, I like games like Epic Mickey or Fable that honestly make you like enhance your good nature or your wicked side. Like heck, even when I play games that have choices, I don't mind acting a little bit chaotic sometimes. Like especially Far Cry. You can be a good person, and then you can be the spawn of Satan, and just blow everyone up and burn things down, and just be like a chaotic force of nature, and still be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was having one of my spells."
Just like that, just that casual. Something else that I want to bring up, because I know you kind of touched on this a little bit, but bringing it back to Spyro and not just that, but Crash. What's your opinion and view on the remasters and stuff? Because I know remakes, remasters, it can be kind of controversial because some people are like all about them. Some people say that they're not good, and then we should stop doing that and stop doing ports and stuff because it's or remasters because we're ruining the original game. I don't know. There's a lot of opinions on it, but for you personally, Speedy, what do you think about these remakes that we've gotten for Crash and for Spyro the Dragon as a real fan?
Okay, so I grew up with Crash 2 and Spyro 3. Okay, I didn't get to play Crash 1. I didn't get to play Crash 3 that much. I didn't get to play Spyro 1 or 2. I got to play a bit of Spyro 2 via the demo discs, but I only had so much to go with. And I couldn't find the original games myself. They wouldn't they were either too expensive or they weren't in stock. So I don't think every remaster or remake is needed. Okay. I believe that if there's a strong demand for it, it should be like helped and be done, especially if there's like a passion for the games. Like look at Crash for example. Everyone who played Crash, the original one, was just like when the new gens came out, they were like thinking, we want to see this as a better version, more graphics, better controls, or even just better music. But then the Crash remaster came out and blew all that out of the water and then some. And then proceeded to set a standard for how the remasters should be treated and went about. That's why when Crash was done, Spyro got his remaster the same way, but in a different tone. They did it respectively. They went to the same theme. Crash was more realistic. Spyro was more cartoonish and a little bit more magical. And that's what made it so special. And like for Crash, for example, you could see the visual difference between the PS1 and Crash. You could tell that that's that version. They put so much love and care, and it's the same energy. That's what matters when you do a remaster. There's a remake, and then there's a remaster. That's
so huge, man. I need to comment on that too, because it's like it's all about the heart, right? And that same vibe, because like, you know, I'm all for them giving it a pretty overhaul and making it look prettier. And I'm okay if they're going to tweak certain other things in the game, as long as it's the same heart and the same vibe. You can see that they're respecting the original and not trying to change it too much. You know what I mean? Like quality of life improvements, yes, bring them our way. Like it's okay. Some people might argue against that, but I'm not against it at all.
I believe personally, sorry to interrupt, but at the same time, I understand when people don't want a remake. Like some games shouldn't just be remastered back to back because it ruins the vibe of certain games. Like you're just like, oh, they're just using it for just to milk the franchise. Some games deserve to be left as gems, but some games deserve to be remastered just to give them back the limelight that they deserve because they've been gone for so long. Banjo-Kazooie needs some love, dang it. Proper love.
Oh, and it should. I would like to think that's common. I would like to think it probably is, man. It's Banjo-Kazooie's. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think it's a big enough franchise that they're legendary enough that they should remaster them, right? I'd like to think.
Like when you consider the last game they had. Just to quote JonTron, it's cars.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing, man. Yeah, we'll see, because that's the other thing too. Sometimes, like, I know it happened with Jak and Daxter, but like, I think sometimes a remake or a remaster it can be good. There's also that whole difference, right? The difference between like a remake and a remaster. Like a remaster tends to be it's the same game just with like a couple of visual improvements, and then there's like a remake, which is like it's just a different take. Like it could be a different take on the game, like something as big as like Final Fantasy VII original versus the remake. Like that's completely different, different. And then you have remasters, which are more like ports, like the Kingdom Hearts series. You know them. It's really just more of a remaster. They have the exact same game. They didn't change anything about it. They just ported it onto newer consoles, which I think is great. Would you consider Crash Bandicoot and the Spyro trilogy more of a remake or a remaster?
I would call it a remaster, personally.
Yeah.
Like, when games like Crash and Spyro got the remake, it set a standard for how to do a proper remaster.
Yes.
It's not like just like, oh, we're going to enhance the lights up a little bit, and then we're going to make the graphics just a tiny bit more seeable. No.
That's a great point.
What Crash and Spyro did,
great point.
They set a standard to truly make a remaster. This is, like, when you see Crash Spyro remaster, this is how remasters should be done.
Exactly.
Properly, with remaking it from the ground up and putting their heart and soul like the original makers did when they first made the games originally.
Go ahead.
Like, for example, there was a game I played once. It was either Battlefield or Call of Duty. It was one of the remastered ones.
Okay.
And it was just brighter. Like you could see a barely difference. Like it was just brighter, and that was like I think that's what everyone thinks of when they think of remaster. They think of it,
Yeah.
they're just brightening things up. They're not going to change much. And I think that's what most people have issues with these games. Like, they keep putting this at this horrible standard, and it's just, it set a bad example back then, and most people don't expect it to be good.
Yeah. I know, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I understand where those people are getting from. But with Crash and Spyro, it set a new standard with how it should be done. And I understand both sides.
I completely agree with that. I completely agree with like everything you said. There's not too much more that I want to add here. I know one one very controversial remake/remaster was The Last of Us. Because you have the original Last of Us on the PS3, which in my opinion is freaking fantastic, and they remastered it for the PS4. And I was like, okay, great. We got our remaster on the PS4. Good stuff. Then they take it and they give it another remake/remaster again onto the PS5, and it's the reason why I think it's so controversial is, you know, obviously you have all these other people who always argue on the side of like, hey, all the time that could have been spent on this remake, you could have spent it working on the next game or making other things better, and now we just got the same copy-paste game for the same price tag. That's something that can also be so rough when they release the exact same game. Maybe give it a fresh coat of paint, but they charge you the same amount of money, or if not more, because that's what happened with the Last of Us. I think they're for the Last of Us Part 1 the remake or the remaster or whatever, they're charging like $70 something when I first got it on the PS3 it was only $60, and it's just, or $50 or whatever. Like, it's just so crazy. It's so crazy. And the reason why I say it's controversial is because I'm gonna say this. For a fan of The Last of Us, like a hardcore, like The Last of Us is their everything, and I would like to consider myself one of those fans, I will gladly go back, play The Last of Us Part 1 remake. I'll enjoy it. I don't think the price tag is okay at all. I think I should be paying. It's just so hard because I also don't know how much work they put into it, right? To make this thing happen. So I think that's also something I try to take into account. But I don't know, man. Like, as someone who's like a hardcore fan of the franchise, like, I love it. I'm gonna play Part 1, but it wasn't a big enough thing for me to buy it the day of. While I have a cousin of mine who bought it day one and is like, dude, best decision ever. So worth it. Such an amazing game, getting to play with all these new little tweaks. And then there's also the whole other community, or the other side of gamers, like, bro, if you've never played The Last of Us, play The Last of Us Part 1, like the newest version. That is going to be your best way to play it. And that just goes without saying, you know? So, I don't know, man. There's just so many.
I personally never play it because I can't handle zombie games that well.
Fair.
Like, Minecraft is the best zombie game I can play. Like, I just can't handle the zombies. Like, I don't know why.
Fair.
It's just like a mental tick with me. I don't know why, but
Completely
I understand what
fair,
you're
man.
getting at. I think the main issue most people have with Last of Us is it's the same game,
It's
just
the same game.
different. Like, it's the Spider-Man controversy. Like, we all know how the Spider-Man fans, specifically that one section that got so upset and bent out of shape over puddles.
Puddles.
Like, when they see Yuri Lorenthal's face change, most people got upset by that. Like, everyone got so mad by that, and I understand the anger, because it's just like, why change the face? Why change that?
Yeah.
I understand it, but at the same time, it does make it look tiny bit more different. Like, the textures, the lighting, I can understand it. It's the same thing with Last of Us. It's just, it couldn't do stuff at a certain point, and then they remaster it, and it's just like, everyone's like, why do you change it? Why do you have to change it in the first place? Like, yeah, it looks pretty, but why do we have to buy it again? Like, that's what people... I understand completely why people are angry about it.
Yeah, and I think, like, for example, like, I know we were just talking about this, and, like, Spider-Man was an interesting case for me because I happened to be on the side of when I first played... the very first time I played Spider-Man, I played the remaster. So when I play the remaster and I see the Peter Parker with the new face... For me, that's it looks right. Like, it only makes sense to me. And then I look at the older one and I'm like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that. So, but I can relate to like how the old fans felt. And I don't know, man. It's just crazy being on this side of the spectrum where like, yeah, like I see this remake, I see how they changed the face, and I'm like, nah, I'm okay with it. But it's because all I'd ever really known. you know.
The argument
So,
is Spider-Man in the PS4 game is supposed to be an aged-up Spider-Man. The newer one, the remaster, looks like he's in high school. That's the
yeah,
argument people are having with the face.
they
Like,
made him
why
more Tom
younger?
Holland looking, more
Yeah,
more,
and
more like Tom Holland.
that's what people are having the issue with. Like, for the original one, he looks like an aged-up Spider-Man, like he actually has been through a few years. But the newer
Yeah,
one looks like he's younger, like still in high school, and that's what people are upset about.
I can see
And
that.
I'm not even just counting the people who get mad about the puddles. Like, hey, the new Spider-Man game, people were getting mad at the water
Bruh.
during sunset time underneath a bridge.
Bruh.
It's gonna look bad, and that's like a beta
Environments.
version. Like, be happy we're
Yeah.
getting this game in the first place. Like, I understand
Exactly.
wanting to nitpick certain things, but
Exactly.
coming like a beta version of water, like, come
Yeah.
on.
Come on, man. Like, yeah, y'all take, and I agree. And I think there's always going to be people taking it to the extremes who are complaining about things
yeah.
that they really shouldn't be. But you know, I think it's a good thing that we're able to talk about these things and consider all sides. And yeah, man, this has been good. This has been a great talk. Oh, my camera just died. So give me a sec. Quick.
Controversial thought for me while you fix that.
Okay, yeah, go
I
ahead.
believe anyone who goes after creators or people who dox or threaten all to get their way should be considered cyber terrorists in my eyes. Okay, I say this because if you have the gall to threaten someone all because you didn't get your way, because you saw something you didn't like, it is pathetic and childish. And if you have the quote-unquote the audacity to threaten someone's life or livelihood because you don't agree with something over the internet, you should be considered a cyber terrorist. Like, at least in my eyes. Because it's just wrong to go after someone over something petty on either on a game or online. And some people may disagree. Why consider them cyber terrorists? If you actively dox someone, you should be considered a terrorist online. Because you are actively participating in hurting people because you didn't get your way. And it's just wrong to me. Like, good lord, the Spider-Man devs, they got more attacks than anyone just because of the remaster. They didn't deserve, like, the Spider-Man Raimi suit, for example. I was patiently waiting for it. Everyone else was just like, give us the suit now!
Yeah. It's crazy, man. And
I don't like bullies.
I'm glad. No, and I'm glad that you bring that up because again, it's a really real thing, and I think most people, you know, like us, who have that common sense and who are try to be good people, it makes no sense, you know. And it happens not just with Spider-Man. It happened when The Last of Us 2 Part 2 came out. It happens with Cyberpunk. Like, all these games that have these really strong communities and that they quote unquote mess up in one way or another, and the fandoms that take it to the extremes, it's never okay. And it happens even with YouTube, man. Like, a YouTuber says a thing or makes a mistake, and next thing you know, or streamers, they're getting doxxed, they're getting canceled, they're doing all these different things. So there's a lot to it, man. But all right.
Like, people keep saying the Spider-Man community is toxic because of it, but it's just a few bad eggs ruining the entire potluck. It's stupid.
That's
like,
a great point.
I understand the anger, but at the same time, it's not warranted to ruin others' lives.
And 100%. I think that's you couldn't have said it any better. So yeah, I'm actually just gonna leave it at that. Great stuff.
It's
great stuff, man. It's the best way to put it. Like honestly.
Yeah.
All right, man. So we got time for maybe one more game to talk about here. So I don't know if now you want to talk about maybe like. Oh wait. So what was the last? Because we ended up talking about Spider-Man, but. Technically, was it Spyro and Crash Bandicoot, or what was
It was more Spyro than Crash.
So with Spyro, I was just gonna say real quick with Spyro, what would be the ratings that you would give it as a kid, and then now the new rating that you would give it as an adult?
Okay, so without the nostalgia filter, for the original PS1, I would give it a 10.
A 10.
And for nowadays, I would still give it a 10. Not just because of its nostalgia, but because of how much of an icon it is for platform gaming as a whole.
Yes.
Crash Bandicoot was a good platformer, but Spyro made it in more open world. Like when Mario 64, like that one's in a league all its own, but Spyro did it in a way that made Mario have to step back.
Yeah.
And
which is crazy.
The remaster I would put at a 9.
Okay.
For for how faithful it was, I give it one less point for the small little details that, like for certain jokes that didn't quite hit home like
Didn't
in the
hit
original
the same.
For
Okay.
example, in Spyro 2, there was a Romeo joke, like Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? But it was like a man trying to do a woman's voice, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? And in the remaster, it didn't do it right. It just there's some jokes that didn't hit home like in the original, and that's
fair.
why I put it at a 9.
That's fair. Yeah, completely fair rating. Wow. Awesome, man. Yeah, thank you for this insight. It's always really interesting. I'd love to, I at some point I'm gonna play through these trilogies. I played a little bit of Spyro growing up. I played a good amount of Crash growing up, and I've touched the remakes a little bit. And it's gonna be interesting for me, like actually going through and completing these games as I'm older. Them really being like my first true experience. Like, but no, I think you did a great job at like explaining that, and thank you for once again sharing I think they're really insightful. You're not just kind of giving me the number, but you're saying it makes sense. You have reasons to back it up.
Giving the reason for the number, and that's what matters sometimes, because anyone can give a number for a game, but giving the reason,
that's
a heartfelt reason, that's more important.
That's the important part, man. Heck yeah. Perfect. All right, man. So moving on to the last game, my friend. What is the last game that you played that really just left a mark on you, that made you think, wow, this was a fantastic game, and here is why it's important to me?
Okay, so I'm going to say genre than game, because there's like multiple games in this genre that left a big mark on me. Yeah. I'm talking more of Star Wars games, considering I'm not counting Star Wars The Force Unleashed, because that's already in a good league of its own. Everyone loves being able to play that game because you just get to dismember clone troopers and just go like full ham on people.
Go crazy. It's what fun. You want.
But there are games like KOTOR, which I know you're still egging on to play at one point, and I still want you to play SOTOR afterwards. You play KOTOR 1 and 2. Yeah. SOTOR is a good continuation of it.
For sure.
SOTOR and KOTOR and Jedi Academy, all that stuff, Jedi Outcast, those games, they gave a certain insight. It's not like... It is Legends, but it's not. It's like the type of game that you can enjoy, like Star Wars: The Old Republic, for example. You can create your own character. You get to go through the story. You get to take on hundreds of enemies. Yes, it's just side quest city. You can just side quest. But
really quick, you said SOTOR. That's is it like the MMO one, the one that you were telling me?
Yes.
That's like
So
what's like the full name for it?
It's Star Wars: The Old Republic.
That's what it was. Thank you. All right, go on.
It's like when it first came out, it was unique in its own because you got to play and create your own characters. Basically, live out the fantasy of you being in the Star Wars world. But at the same time, it still goes off the worlds of KOTOR, Star Wars KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, all that. Yeah. And it still carries off on that and carries on the tradition of that. Still having the lore from that series, and it's just impactful how many people were experienced to that, including myself, my family. Like there was even one time I had a hilarious time with my father. He was just playing with it. He was just playing a female character, and one of the guys we were grouped with whispered me, "Dude, is that a real chick?" Like, no, that's my dad. He went, no. There's moments like that you can't like get on games that you play single player, like multiplayer bits where you can play with family. It is hilarious, and I still remember that to this day, and I loved it because it was hilarious.
That's amazing. That's dude, MMOs have always been a genre that's fascinated me. And when I was younger, I got into the whole Wizard 101 craze. Like I got into
Wizard 101,
bro. That name, it always strikes a chord. Either people have heard about it or they played it and they got into it.
I think I have a few VHS tapes that have it recommended or like advertised somewhere.
That's amazing.
I remember Wizard 101. I played Toontown, the original one, before it got rewritten.
And
I forgot about Wizard 101 for years, and it's just like... Dude, I didn't get into Wizard 101 as much, but Toontown, that one was fun for me.
I remember that. There was also, I don't remember the name of it, but there was like a Cartoon Network one that I got pretty into for a while.
You were talking about... I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. I don't remember the name.
I know which
but
one you're talking about, but
and it was pretty good. And I think as an adult, I've always tried to kind of like revisit the genre of MMOs and see if there's one that I can just kind of like get lost into. Like this one seems amazing. And I think I've gotten close to getting into one. Like when Elder Scrolls Online came out, like
uh,
I played that for like a pretty good amount. But I didn't get sucked in and hooked in. You know the one MMO that I've been playing that I'm almost done with the base game and I'm gonna make a review on. I've kind of been working on this in the back burner, but it's just so long because it's an MMO. Is Final Fantasy 14.
I can see that. I can see how that. Mm,
You know, I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan.
I know
Like
you
I'm like it's so. If there was an MMO that was gonna get me into MMOs, it was that one, and it was great. You know, I haven't beat it yet, but I've had a great time with it. I've already sunk more than 100 hours into it, and it's the next game that I'm kind of working on, and yeah. So please talk to me a little bit more about Star Wars: The Old Republic. I got some gameplay going in the background, so
okay. Star Wars: The Old Republic, even though it is an MMO, you can basically not just be a Jedi or Sith. You can be a trooper, a bounty hunter, mercenary, Imperial agent, and you can still just the main story is like you are the hero Tython. That's the main lore connection, but you can still continue that story as a trooper or a bounty hunter or something. You can still be like leave your mark on the galaxy.
yeah.
And even though it is Side Quest City and just back and forth a lot, it has its charm of like you're still in the Star Wars world. You can still like create your character. It's a microtransaction city too, but you don't have to like just buy stuff just for cosmetic reasons.
Yeah.
Like, for example, you can still like get in your own outfit just from grinding over and over again credits and stuff like that, and just getting random outfits on looted corpses, and that's what makes it fun too. Like if you want to get a specific outfit from the store, you can buy it, but it's not like required, like unless you like surpass the main character story, then you need to actually get subscribed to the game so you can continue with the excess story that they created, which leads to more of the lore. So that's your option.
That's your option. I was gonna say, would you consider it a pay to win kind of game or no?
No, it's not pay to win. It's more like,
there we go.
If you want to continue the story and see what else they made for story wise, you do need to subscribe, but you don't need to pay to win.
There we go. Yeah, that's huge. I think there's especially with MMOs, since most MMOs you have to subscribe to and pay some sort of subscription to.
Yeah.
So I think there's not too much we can comment on that. But no, anyways, go ahead. What were you saying?
For the beginning story, you don't need to subscribe.
Yeah.
Like there's preferred player and then there's subscriber, and you can go the lowest rate for a subscriber if you want, and that's perfectly fine. At the same time, the only thing you truly need to pay money for is the subscription to continue playing the stories, which is not that much in the long run unless you like really sore for money.
Yeah.
And the only thing that would require money is the cosmetics in the cartel market, which costs a bit of money to get the cartel points to get the parts, like how Roblox does. But Roblox does it worse than Star Wars.
Oh my gosh.
Another reason I hate Roblox is it feels like they overdid it on the microtransactions, where Star Wars seems like they actually have it at a fair price.
So I know something I was gonna ask. Do you think, because this as an MMO on its own, it might have its rating, but like, do you think part of the reason why you like this game so much is because it's Star Wars, or is it just in general a great game?
So it has its problems, and I will say it's a great game not just because I played it, but the idea of it. The idea of being able to play in Star Wars, the actual universe, being able to make your mark on a galaxy. You could be a good Sith if you want to. You could be a Jedi. You could legit be something that is unique, and
that's so cool.
You can morph your own story into a way where it feels not only unique to you, but it feels like you're actually changing the galaxy a little bit. And the best thing is you can just play with friends. And if you do start playing this, I want to be able to quote unquote chaperone you and make sure you don't get into something you can't get out of.
I will definitely be reaching out to you when I play this game, because I will. I think especially. I know you will, 'cause I'm
not gonna let you forget. Just like Epic Mickey.
Just like Epic Mickey. Nah, man, for real. I'll definitely be reaching out to you, because I think that's another beauty with MMOs that I'm excited to kind of dive into, because with Final Fantasy 14, honestly, it's been more of a. It's gonna sound bad, but it's been more of a lonely solo experience. Like, I've had a great time with the game. That's why I'm like playing through it, and I've I've put a lot of hours into it, over 100, and I've had a good time with it. But I didn't really have someone to play it with. I know, like I played it a little bit with Gabe, and he was having a good time. But I'd say 80% of the game I pretty much played on my own, and I had a great time with Gabe the little bits that I did play with him. But I'm excited to play an MMO and hopefully go through the whole thing with someone, because I think that's what makes MMOs so great, the fact that you can play them with people. So
that's why I like games like Avengers. You have that coordination with your probably friends.
Exactly.
And it's also why I like games like Epic Mickey 2, The Power 2, because you can play with someone, but you have to have someone physically there to play with it. But it's that coordination of playing with someone in like games like that, and having that plan and having like a team. It's why Avengers, you and I like it so much, because you can legit just like have a plan with someone and feel like you could just kick anyone's butt as long as you're smart about it.
Exactly.
Like playing on your alone is fun too, but there's a special bond when you play with people and actually are just like playing as like a proper unit.
I could not agree with that anymore, man. Like, honestly, and it's so cool, man. That's why multiplayer games, co-op games, like especially when you're playing with someone as a team, like you're creating that story and that adventure with someone, and it's one of the coolest things in my experience. And like I want more of that, and I will get to that at some point. But no, that's so cool, man. I was gonna ask, so like, yeah, is there anything else you want to highlight about this game before we get into the final question for this game?
Well, like any other Star Wars game, it has its like it's gonna be for 13-year-olds at least, because Star Wars is a game at the end of the day about you cutting down and killing hundreds of enemies in a single bound. Like,
that's fair.
It's something that you should be expecting adult-like humor, but at the same time, it's still childish to an extent.
Yeah,
I guess the best way to put it is, it's a balanced game when it comes to that type of stuff. But I think the best thing you have to understand is every decision you make, like in Last of Us or like Telltale, everything matters in the long haul, because every choice, every mission you take does end up changing the course of your path, and the game does keep track of that sometimes. So you can't just be willy-nilly choosing choices, like you have to go what you want your character to sound like or be like. I'm basically Captain America every single time. I'm always saving the day and helping people and being the one that's like, no, we have to be merciful.
You have to do the right thing here. Yeah, no, and I love that. That's something that really attracts me about this game. Like you said, like the liberty to really be able to, like you said, you can be a Sith who's a good guy, or you can be a Jedi who's a jerk. Like, that's so unique, man. That's so different, and like you're not just limited to person with a lightsaber. Like you said, you could be a bounty hunter. Like, there's just so many.
You could be a trooper. You could be an Imperial agent. You can legit be a regular smuggler. You could just It's just a good, like I said with Minecraft. It's a way to be creative. It's a way to bring out your inner like storyteller of your own. And it's why I like games like that. I also love games that are straightforward too, like Spider-Man Web of Shadows or Shadow Dimension or something like that. You get to have variety and you get to experience a story.
Exactly. No, that's so cool, man. I think you did a great job of describing it. Again, as someone who hasn't played this game but has only ever heard great things about it, like, I'm just all the more interested and excited to when I get to it. Like, it looks so good. I know that they are working on like a remake for it, right?
Okay, you are talking about the KOTOR remake.
Oh, and okay.
KOTOR remake is having more issues lately. It's changed. As far as I'm aware, right now they've changed the companies and directors who are doing it at the moment, because some of them were being too stupid with agendas.
Ooh.
So it's why politics and games and entertainment should never mix. Like,
no.
Unless it's like something like Assassin's Creed, where politics are like seamlessly as like, this is what not to do, and it's not like agenda driven to one side, like just genuinely telling you what not to do and how to learn from these people. It's something like when it's like regular politics, like, not to get mad at me, but when it's like pushing LGBT or BLM stuff, which I support the idea of love for love and like better checking on police stuff to make sure there's no corrupted cops. I understand that. But when you're pushing it to the point to where it's like overbearing would have to be a good word, it makes the game not about a character or the story. It makes it about your movement. And that's not what people want. People want the story of the character and their struggles and being able to get immersed. Not to be reminded, hey, you should be supporting this and this and this and this and this. Like, that's the best thing about games.
It's really...
They're for all ages. They're for all types of people. But no one wants to be... Dang it, Discord!
What happened?
We're just talking over each other repeatedly.
Oh, it's okay. No, it's okay. I just wanted to jump in and say, because like it's this topic in particular is one that I try to be really, really careful with, and I know with I do want to comment on this because part of the thing that you're telling me, like I wasn't too aware of I don't know that side of the story, what you were talking about with this game. I don't have the full context, so I don't really feel like I can comment on it because I don't know enough about it. Yet, I think a similar situation, like, did you know about the whole thing that happened with Hogwarts Legacy and that whole thing?
I am aware of it. I wouldn't say I know all the details, but I am aware of that. Some shenanigans have been happening.
Yeah, and I think that's, I again, this isn't... I'm not going to take too much time here to get into the full thing, because especially the game came out a while ago now. And I'm not the most well-informed, but let's just say it was a very similar situation where people were boycotting the game because of certain decisions from the person who created the Harry Potter universe. What's her name? The author to Harry Potter. I'm blanking on the name. Anyways, yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So the author of Harry Potter, I'm blanking on the name, but it's fine. Her views on let's say the LGBTQ plus community, and the in-game there's certain options to make your character sound or look like however you want them to look like, as well as there's I believe a character in the game who is part of that community, if not multiple characters. I haven't fully played the game yet, but I'm just telling y'all the basic summary of it. My point being here is the game developers made this game as accepting as they could towards that community. Yet there's a lot of people in that community that are boycotting the game and say, do not play this game, do not buy this game, because if you do, you're supporting the author of Harry Potter and her views on the LGBTQ plus community, and therefore if you buy the game, if you stream the game, you are against us and you're not with us. And it's become this whole thing when, like, at the end of the day, like, the people who made this game, Hogwarts Legacy, which is a great game with so much heart and so much effort put into it, are now being blasted, or they're the ones, getting the backlash and the potential sales being affected. Everyone's just being affected by this negatively because of people's extreme views on these things.
Cancel culture in a nutshell.
It's so hard to talk about, man. It's so...
I personally believe, for both LGBT and BLM, love should be for love. That's how I got into it in the first place. And BLM, some policemen have to be regulated and watched, because some of them are corrupted. But there's also a lot of good of them at the same time. But there's the extremists, and then there's the cancel culture people who, if you don't agree with 100%, they will ruin your life, and they don't care who they hurt. And those people, I think, deserve to get booted from those communities, because they are like poison to those communities, and bring them down and thinking, if you're not against us in the specific way, you're against us as a whole. Like, this is why there's opinions on the internet. There shouldn't be a reason to ruin a life because someone doesn't agree.
It's so difficult, and everyone has, like, their own backgrounds that they come from, and for some people, like, they've been dealing with things for so long, and to them, even the smallest little thing can affect them so much, and we try to be empathetic with it, but then on top of that, you have these extremists who take everything too far, and I think that's the thing. It's one thing to, like, definitely stand up for yourself and what you believe in, but I do not think that you should combat hate with hate or violence with violence, and I think that's I think hopefully something that everyone can agree on. I mean, it's different when you're trying to save someone who might be in danger, But it's another thing if someone's just throwing hate your way, and you're not just protecting, but you're also like, okay, it's such a messy topic. But anyways,
Yeah,
we definitely kind of
to rope this back to gaming. It's why why games are so important. Because it doesn't matter where you're from, what your skin is, what orientation you identify as. Anyone can play a game if they have the console or the place to do it.
That's beautiful.
You could be any place in the world. You could be anyone, and you could still choose to play a game depending on the country you're in. It's why I like games so much. There's such a choice to be able to choose the continuity or the community you want to be a part of. And that's why I like games so much, because you could be, like, for example, you could be the next Stan Lee after you play a certain game, and then come up with a character no one has ever thought of before. And you could just create and create and create, and then help someone else create their thing. It's like a domino effect on the positive side. It's the best thing I like about games.
It's
they
beautiful,
inspire.
man. It's awesome, and I think again, like, thank you. I think that's such a good way to almost like end the pod here. And like, well, I mean, I'll ask a couple more questions, but like, that's part of the reason why I'm trying to I have this podcast and I want to have these conversations, because like, there's just so much to gaming. It's so much more than just this way to have fun, but there's a whole community to it. There's so much good that can come from it. There's so much controversy that can come from it, and it's just it's a whole thing, man. It's not just video games. There's so many topics. Like, think about everything we've talked about on this podcast today, all the way from friendships and relationships to these more controversial issues, you know, with like LGBTQ plus and like just there's just so much, man. And gaming is a part of it, or gaming plays a role in it. You know, it's crazy, man. But anyways, thank you, man. I think you put that really eloquently, you know, in terms of like we're all, at the end of the day, like, we can all be gamers. It doesn't matter what part of the world you're in or where you're from or what your background is. Like, we can all sit here, play a game, have fun, and appreciate the same parts of it. I think that's huge, and you put it so well. So thank you for that, Speedy. I appreciate that, man.
No problem. I like putting some things into perspective sometimes, because with me being autistic, sometimes I think a tad bit out of the box than what normal people would, and I can overthink things and see things like how some people wouldn't view it, but open eyes to how it should be.
And that's something that I was gonna say, man. I said it earlier, and I'm gonna say it again. Like, never stop being you, and I love that you have that look on yourself, that positive outlook on yourself, because it's the truth, bro. And like, just keep being yourself, Speedy. You're an amazing guy, man. Just
I try to be. I'm trying every day, and I'm trying to be better every day and be better for others too. Because at the end of the day, it's best to be remembered and be as the person who should be remembered fondly, instead of a deadbeat who made everyone go down with him. Like, as a Christian myself, it makes more sense to me to make other people's days better and be the person who inspires and helps others, rather than be someone who hurts.
That's beautiful, man.
No one wants to be remembered as the bad guy unless you're really that sick in the head.
Yeah, no. I think a quote that I try to live by is, you know, what's your story and how do you want to be remembered? Because
exactly,
at the end of the day, we all only have one life here, and it's like, you make of it what you make of it. So it's like, we have choices every day and decisions every day, and yeah, man, that's a great way to view it. Just, what's your story? How do you want to be remembered? And another thing that I always tell my friends, like, especially good people like you, bro, it's like, never stop being you. Y'all got a good heart, so
that goes the same for you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. All right, man. So it's kind of this is great. This was perfect. But let's bring it back to video games one last time. So Star Wars, was it the Old Republic, right?
The Old Republic, yes. Star Wars, the Old Republic.
Give me the classic ratings. What would you give it as when you were a child or like younger, and what would you give the rating now as an adult?
I think I would give it a 7 for back then. Maybe because I didn't know the Star Wars lore as much back then. I wasn't. My brother is a better Star Wars fan than me, so he knows a lot more of how it should be than I do. Nowadays, comparing, you know, with me not only just playing on the lowest video setting for years and not realizing I can upgrade it.
Yeah.
I think I would bring it up to an 8. Or maybe an 8.9.
Wow.
Because the game, even though it is like people at BioWare are changing, who is in control of the game nowadays, because they are wanting to focus on their own stuff more than SOTOR, which hurts me a little bit because BioWare, held on to this game for so long.
Yeah.
But the story, the characters, and not just the characters, but also the lore they are continually trying to bring out in this one version of the game, in this one version of Legends.
Yeah.
It is something like, it's commendable because this is like a multi-year project they work on every year. And there's always either some type of lore bit that's being added on to, or something that's like added on to the original story, and it's like a book that you're like a Harry Potter book that's still being written as you're reading it.
A never-ending book. I think that's a great way to put certain MMOs, and if they have a good enough story, like that's a great way to view it. Like it's just a never-ending book, and hopefully it'll keep on going and the quality stays up.
Oh yeah, definitely. I hope it stays up, and I hope that the new people who gain control, if they have to wrap up the entire story, I hope they wrap it up in a nice bow. Yeah. Unlike what Marvel Avengers had happen to them, where they couldn't finish it.
Yeah, that was rough, man. That was rough.
I was at least hoping for a visual novel, so that way we could at least see the Kree invasion get stomped.
honestly, but hey, at least they gave us all of our cosmetics for free, so that's one thing.
And not just cosmetics, the emotes and all that stuff. There are some costumes I've never seen before, and I thought I saw them all. I was like, oh, this is new.
Yeah, the same thing happened to me when I back into. I was like, "Whoa, these exist."
I was playing it before we started this.
Yeah.
And I went through the future imperfect thing, and it was like muscle memory. I got right through it. I destroyed every single little aimbot that came my way, and it was like I never left. And it's just like I went through the cosmetics and saw everything. It was like, yep, still love this game.
Honestly, yeah. The same time, the last time I played it, it was just like, I think it was when I got the platinum for it. I was having a great time. I was like, this is awesome. I'm glad that I'm giving this game the proper send off. I might replay it someday on another console just to like maybe get the achievements for it there, because I'm like a big into that. But either way, it was just a fantastic game, man. And yeah, great. So Speedy, let's taking it, let's just kind of close out the session here, because again, this is a great podcast, man. We had some great conversations, and I loved it, bro. I definitely want to have you back. If you feel like there's more things that you want to talk about, like we'll definitely talk about it next time, man.
There probably is gonna be more things with me being a motor mouth.
That's hilarious, brother. I love it. No, we'll definitely talk about it some more, man. So now I was just gonna say, oh wait, it's nighttime, so we're gonna go to the nighttime Wolf Castle. What? Yeah. Do you have anything else that you'd like to say before we end the pod here? Because this was great, man. This is great. I think we talked about a lot of great games. I think, in terms of honorable mentions, you talked about a couple of them. I think that we might be able to talk about next time.
Honorable mentions would have to be Knack. And because Knack, I at least think you would have fun with that if you want a difficult game to work with, because you need to at least have some form of skill to actually, play it properly. And I do, like, I'm not going to get into another rant, because I know you want to end it off. And if I ever do get back on it again, I would like to talk more about them. I think the best thing to end this off with is no game is perfect. That's the main thing I have to be saying. Every game that has ever existed, from Shrek the Third, Ratatouille, to a bunch of other games, every game has its own unique, I don't want to say scent, but wavelength. Let's say that. Every game is unique in its own way. Every game is going to attract its own unique person. And it's good to criticize some games. Some games need to be criticized.
They need it.
But at the same time, no one should be damned just because they like a certain game. Just because they like. For me, for example, Sonic 06 is one of the most hated Sonic games in existence. But yet, I love the music and I love the challenge it brings. I love the story. That's my opinion on it. But everyone has its own their own opinion on games. Everyone has their own experiences and unique forms. It's why I like this podcast as much as I do, because everyone's unique experience is different and unique to them, especially the games that they play, because everyone plays games differently at the end of the day.
Everyone does.
Unless you're like one of those people that loves to like mimic players and just love to just be like one of those creeps on the internet. It's like, I am this person. I am this person. Like, everyone plays games differently. Everyone.
Exactly.
And it does help people learn. It does help people become who they are.
Bro.
As long as parents are continually being aware of what games they're playing and making the proper restrictions, instead of just letting them play a game like Doom or Dark Souls because they decide, oh, it's just a game, they can play it. Like, there are reasons parents should be held accountable if their kids are playing games. It's not the kid's fault if they're playing a game that you bought.
Yeah,
and it's good to restrict games.
It's important. It's important. I mean, I think it really does kind of come down to the parent. And in the same way that I would like to think, you won't just give your kid an iPad and let them do whatever they want with it. It's the same thing with games. You have to be monitoring what games they're playing and what it's about. So,
especially the type of genre, because most people think that I've met some people who think that just because it's like a shooting game means it's the same as like Call of Duty or Battlefield. Like Borderlands, for a perfect example.
Yeah.
It is in a league all its own for its crude humor, its funny gameplay, and how the cartoon aesthetic looks. There's always different variations, like a tree with branches. There's always different versions.
Even just think of like Splatoon. Splatoon's a shooter. And that's a completely kid-friendly game. So it's not like, oh, you can't play a shooter because it implies you're shooting people. It's like, no, you just have to find the right kind of game, and that's why you got to monitor.
And do the research. To make sure, there's like no hidden like nudity or like horrid scenes that would terrify any kids, like
exactly. Wow.
How many times did we play kids when we were kids and played a game we shouldn't have, and then suddenly get terrified at a certain scene?
Yeah, no. It's something we really want to be careful with, man. But no, oh my gosh, Speedy, thank you once again so much for being on this podcast. I'm so grateful for you. Like, thank you for not just being such a great guest, but being such a genuine good friend. I'm grateful that you were on here, man. And it might take us a little bit longer to upload this podcast potentially, because all the animations that y'all have seen today were done by him. I had nothing to do with it. Besides I did was
editing it into the video. That's the only thing he's gonna be tasked with. I'm doing the hard work here, doing my side.
He is. He's gonna, and that's also for your sake. I think this is a good place to call it, because this was a really long video. But yeah, man, take your time with it. No worries. We'll end up uploading this whenever it's ready. Yeah. And once again, man, thank you so much for being here, and I'm excited to have you back, man.
No problem. And to all of you golden viewers who are watching right now, like what No say, do not compromise you being you. You be who you are. Just make sure to check yourself so that way you're not being the jerk online. Be who you are. Be the helping hand. Because at the end of the day, we're all good people as long as we continue to strive to be better and not be the person that brings everyone else down. Like, bullying is not just like in person. It can be online too, and it's always good to watch what you say, because you never know what may set someone off or what good thing someone needs to hear. And I personally like to believe that everyone will get a good ending, in a sense, to their lives, as long as they not just focus on Jesus as a Christian, or just be a good person in general. Because at the end of the day, we all deserve love. Every one of us.
Find your own path and just keep being your best self and treating others in the way that you'd like to be treated. So,
amen.
Thank you all so much for watching. Once again, huge shout out to my boy Speedy. And if you would like to be a part of the podcast, please leave a little comment down below. Click on the links down in the description, join Discord, and send me a little message. So, thank you all. And Speedy, once again, thank you for being here, man.
Thank you for having me. Bye, everyone. Bye.